Africa, the mother of all continents.
A land brimming with human, material, and natural resources.
Bedeviled by challenged leadership, socio-economic instability, and war.
In the midst of the chaos, there exists a group of individuals and organizations working to rewrite this narrative.
Non-profits and non-governmental organizations bridging the gap of human existence.
Telling stories about the third sector. My name is Kemak Onyenuchea. Join me at 1300 hours West African time every Monday and Thursday on Africa Business Radio as I bring to you the success stories as well as the challenges faced by non-profit organizations in Africa and the individuals who run them. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com or download the Africa Business Radio app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. The third sector on Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa. Well, the world is locked down with the COVID-19, but we're still here bringing you information and insights to operations in the non-profit sector in Africa. Good afternoon, and I welcome you to another edition of the Third Sector on Africa Business Radio. My name, as always, is Kemak Onyenuchea, and of course, I'm extremely excited today that I have you on the other end of your digital devices, listening in and being a part of the show. Today, I have someone who I have always admired from a distance, and somehow Providence has brought us together, and I must tell you her impact and her influence is very real. My guest today is a humanitarian leader, an experienced founder with a demonstrated history of working with philanthropy and helping underserved communities throughout Nigeria. She is the president of the Better Life program for the African rural woman, taking over after her mother, Her Excellency, the late Ajia Dr. Mrs. Maryam Babangida, who worked previously as the chairman and founder of the Better Life program. In addition to being the founder and president of the Women Enterprise Alliance, she is also the convener of the Mothers of the Nation Initiative, a platform which seeks to celebrate the achievements and legacies of all former First Ladies of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. She staunchly believes the core attribute of a woman is the need to give back what she takes and to do her bit for those around her, which is why she is constantly exploring ways and avenues to empower Nigerian women and girls by providing them with educational opportunities and life-changing skills. Her joy and satisfaction comes from seeing the smiling faces of these women and girls as she continues to prepare them for a better future. In addition to her fervor and committed philanthropy, Her Excellency Dr. Aisha Babangida is also passionate about finance and business. She is an advocate for female empowerment by working to increase women's rights and providing them with resources that can help transform their lives and communities. Through her work and the outreach, she realized the importance of microfinance and banking for the Nigerian economy. In 2016, she founded the Egwafin Microfinance Bank, which helps those in Africa get the access they need to funding and financing that they may not have had access to otherwise. She loves seeing how financial inclusion changes lives in her community. In 2018, she founded the Women Enterprise Alliance, which helps entrepreneurs through investing in profitable early-stage companies, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria and across Africa. She founded the organization as a way to help improve the resources that entrepreneurs need to thrive when first starting their own company. Overall, Aisha Babangida has become known for her leadership in the community, as well as her skills in non-profit organizations, negotiation, corporate social responsibility, business planning, and analytical skills. It is my great pleasure, honor, and privilege to welcome to this edition of The Third Sector, Her Excellency Aisha Babangida. You are most welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's such an honor. It really is such an honor to, spend this time with you and glean from your wealth of experience as a leading social sector practitioner. Thank you once again for taking the time in the midst of all that is happening with the COVID-19 et al. You're making out time to be here. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate your efforts as well in trying to send out information and awareness and creating awareness on different subject matters. It's quite honorable of you.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful. All right, ma'am. No, of course, the show, The Third Sector, aims at giving an expose into the lives of practitioners in the non-profit space, as well as tell the stories of Africa's grace and resilience in, owning the problems that face the continent and, of course, citizens of the great continent Africa rising to the challenge and, preferring innovative solutions to these challenges. And, of course, you are a major player. And like I said to you before the show, in my humble opinion, I consider your late great mother, the former First Lady, Dr. Maryam Babangida, as a pioneer in so many ways of African philanthropy. And of course, although as widely claimed, and obviously so, the Babangida children had a very balanced, very sheltered, very disciplined upbringing. However, it must have been some unique experience growing up as members of Africa's most populous and most famous first family of the 80s/90s, and even till date. Can you tell us a bit about what it was like growing up in the spotlight?
Did we have a choice? We didn't have a choice. We were in the spotlight. But it comes with its pressure and public scrutiny as well. But we're able to also, it had its own strict rules of engagement, so to speak, that affected everything that we did in public, in school, and even sometimes at home.
Wow.
So, but being that we're teenagers and growing up, of course, sometimes we break minor rules, and that came with backlashes from my parents.
Oh, wow.
But it was a normal, I know, but it was a normal situation in the sense that our parents are disciplinarians. And what they always reminded us was that this position that my father had was transitional. It's a transit. So half of the time we were living off suitcases for 8 years.
Wow.
But they tried their best to give us a normal family life, so to speak, in the midst of all of that. But we were able to stay strong and stay as one, and that is the important thing. And so it is a pleasure and an honor.
Wow.
That's the way we look at it.
Wow. Everyone, I mean, everyone who is, keen or quite familiar with the Babangida family or had one, form of interaction with the first family at the time, everyone has one, or rather comes away with one striking opinion. And this has, gone on over the years. And to my great surprise, I heard also Her Excellency, the former First Lady, Mrs. Muritala, make mention of this, that Maryam Babangida raised her children well. Like, it's such a resounding theme. And now you're speaking about how your parents were disciplinarians. I'm having a hard time trying to picture, the former First Lady with a cane or something.
It was there. Trust me, it was there.
Oh, my word.
I think the first time I ever made, I didn't make my bed. And I think when I got married and I realized that, okay, wait a second, I could not make my bed. But raised up, we had to make our beds, for example. This is just a minor example. This is how disciplinary and strict. So whenever we go to hotels as well, we have to make our beds. You know how the maid will come in and do that? No. Not with my parents around. You had to make it, and no maid or anybody would come in and see a messy room. And how to conduct yourself and how to behave and how to remember that there are people looking at you. So it's, I thank God for it because it managed to teach us discipline. It managed to keep us composed and hopefully behaving well.
Wow, that's just awesome. Excellent. All right, now moving on. Obviously, you had your mother, Her Excellency, the late Ajia Dr. Maryam Babangida, was a very public-spirited and socially minded woman. And of course, she founded the Better Life program for, rural women. That was a huge success by every definition of the word success, to the point that the UNICEF had to ride on the back of that to help fight and tackle and successfully bring to its knees the 5 killer diseases of children at that time. And of course, growing up around such a mother who was very giving and very public spirited in her pursuits, at what point is it safe to say that the bog of philanthropy, quote unquote, beats Her Excellency Aisha Babangida?
I think right from when I'll speak for myself right now, but I think when I was very young, from age 9, I think 8, 9 or something like that. I've said this story so many times that one day I was at home and my mother had her business, and her business was a poultry farm at the back of the house. And basically growing up at that age, I just thought it was for us, right?
Wow.
And, she's taking the chicken and
right, as most children want to believe.
Yes, So, but then I realized that there were women coming in and buying eggs and buying chicks, broilers. And I thought, okay, so in my own mind, I thought she was just giving it to them free.
Oh, wow.
So, but everything that she did was just charity. She was always bringing in people into the house to look after them because they had no home, So, and then, we followed suit. When she's going to give them food, she gives us a bag to carry it with her, or for her. So there are these little elements that I realized that, this is really interesting and I like this. I really enjoyed going out and supporting. So I think I like to say that I was probably born with it.
Wow.
I felt it, and I felt the passion. I felt it. I could understand it, and I could relate to it because this is all I saw growing up. I saw my parents helping one person or the other, or one community or the other, and I was always following them to do the same thing. So I grew up knowing that. And then when she set up the Better Life as well, I was involved in all their activities. I used to escort them and follow them. So
oh, wow.
Like a natural thing for me. Yeah. So it became like a natural thing for me to do this. I couldn't think of anything else to do but this. And I knew as I get my own family, as I, grow older or have my own family and set up my own thing, this is what I wanted to do.
Wow.
So it was at that point during the Better Life, I realized, there is something I like doing about this. And maybe this is what I'm here to do in this world. And so I try to get myself educated in how to set up an NGO and how to support people, engage people. And so I still do that. I still go and get knowledge from that as well. So I think right from the onset, when I was a little kid, I think it's probably been something that I knew I was going to do.
Wow. So, okay, well, you've answered the next question. So somehow you always knew. It's safe to say you knew you would end up as a social sector practitioner.
Yes.
Okay, but at what point did you make it a full-time career, or, the major focus of your life?
So I had been doing it gently. But when my mother died 10 years ago, I was living in Zamfara. And everything that I learned from her, or seeing her, or following her, I started replicating it in Zamfara. But when she died, I suddenly realized I now had to do it in a systematic way, not just flagrantly or just by the way. It has to be now done in a structured way. So that's when I realized that now I had to do it, because now I'm taking over her better life.
Right.
And her better life that is larger than life. It's a whole household name in Nigeria.
In Africa and all over the world, I dare say.
There you go. Exactly. And, and so the pressure on that had to make sure that I came up with a worthy organization that is institutionalized locally. My vision was to make sure that she could not accomplish, I will accomplish it.
Wow.
So setting up microfinance so as to support the women rather than exposing them to the commercial banks and their interest rate. So all these things now, innovation now I brought into this that she had left for me, because she had left an instrument that is there. I can only scale up. And scaling up is a huge scale up, huh? Because she had scaled up nationwide, So that's when I realized that, and this is when I took it on full time, and I enjoyed it. But I still get education on it, because the way we actually run an NGO locally is not the way best practice is. So I had to make sure that I did that, because it's not about me now. One day my daughter is going to inherit it, and she might not like to do exactly what I'm doing. But the fact that she can sit there as a chairman or a chairperson, and the infrastructure or the structure that we put in place is taking care of itself by itself. So this is what I set out to do, and this is what I'm still working on doing. So yes, that's when I realized I had to do it full time.
Now, it's really excellent. You talk about global best practices in the non-profit sector. And I remember listening to one of your talks where you were speaking about setting up the microfinance bank, and how that the consultants that you brought in to help you put things together did not really do, the kind of quality of work that you expected, and how you had to get back the documents and painstakingly go through them one after the other. And then you were able to spot so many gray areas that he didn't properly spell out. That says a lot about someone, on your status, who is obviously encumbered with so much, as a person in the public space. And of course, you have a 15-year-old daughter who, of course, takes up most of your time. And then here you are speaking about global best practices in the nonprofit practice. Can you tell us 1, 2, 3 things that you would consider to be requisite practices that someone who is anticipating a career in the nonprofit space should, have at the back of their minds?
Well, first of all, you need to get educated. Because running an NGO or being in the nonprofit sector is not something that you just do because you want to do it. It's education, because it's a business on its own.
Right.
Okay. So you need to get educated on how to even set up the structure itself, because you're now going into a sector where human beings, their lives are involved. And so you can't start something and then after 2 years you drop it off because you've mission accomplished. No, it's a lifetime business here. You're going to pay salary, you're going to employ staff and pay salary. You're going to go into communities and let them know who you are. You're going to look for people that would help you market yourself and brand yourself. So it's about education. You need to be educated on how to actually set up an NGO and how to get into the philanthropic areas of the country. Right. And then you need to also understand and be aware of the structures that we have as a nation. So you know that your work is in the community. So you know that you need to get information on what the government have already done. And then so when you're going into your community as well, you also have to be educated as to who are the leaders of the community.
Wow.
Right? So that you don't go in there and go into an area without any due diligence, and then you go in and things would happen and you won't actually work in that community anymore. So you need to also find out what your women or your customers per se actually want. It's not about you coming up to them and telling them this is what I want you to have. No, it can't be done that way. You need to find out what they need, what their issues are, what their challenges are. So that is all part of education.
Wow.
And then you need to, one of the most important things that I've now come to realize is that you need to get your documentations right.
Oh, wow.
Because if you need any kind of support from the international organizations, even from the local organizations, you need to make sure that all your documentations, legal documentations, are on point, which is something we have an issue with in the country. So the documentation means that you are registered fully. You're paying your tax, or if you're tax exempted, then you need to make sure that you get all of that ready. You need to be registered with the Ministry of Interior so that you are an entity that is legal. You know, and so all of these kind of things that you have to really be aware of, because you're hoping that your NGO is going to stay there for a very long time.
Exactly.
And then, and getting the right people to support you, you know, because you do need a lot of support. Because there's so many agencies that you can partner with. So you have to be careful what agencies and what businesses that you have to partner with, because some might not have the same values that you do, or the same integrity that you do. And if you go into that, your integrity is questioned as well. So, and sincerity of purpose. You know this is what you have to do, and you do it sincerely for that purpose.
Wow.
So it's a whole lot of education that we have to be aware of.
This is a masterclass on its own, Your Excellency.
Yes, sir.
And I must tell you, we have to put something together where you would, we'll bring together young practitioners in this space, and then would have the opportunity to glean from your wealth of experience and your passion, because I can tell you really are a passionate woman in what you do.
Yes, I am.
All right. Now, overall, what inspires? Now, I know Her Excellency, the late Dr. Maryam Babangida, she was larger than life, if I do say so. And those are some pretty big shoes to fill. Well, I think we have sorted this issue of having her big shoes to fill, because I once heard you say again that her shoes were too big, so you'd carry the shoes on your head if needs be.
Yes.
All right. So now, what would we say is your personal motivation? Like, what drives you? What's your staying power? Because as someone who operates in the third sector myself, I know it can get draining, mentally tiring, emotionally. People just want to suck you dry. And particularly for someone like you who has the last name Babangida, it must be daunting, so to speak. So what actually is your staying power? What has kept you in the nonprofit space all these years?
Two things: faith and people.
Wow, faith. That's FAITH.
Yes, absolutely. Faith. Faith in that I'm a very spiritual person, so faith is what brought me here. And so I owe that to do exactly what I'm doing sincerely. Okay? So I have to now put my foot down and realize that this is my job, and I'm going to do it to the best that I can. Okay? So that faith is there. but people inspire me. You on your platform have just inspired me.
Oh, thank you.
So I look at the people that I mentor, I look at the people that I support as inspiration, because they're the innocent souls. They're the ones that really need to be supported, and they will tell you, I need support. So if the perks of being who I am and people looking at me like a dollar bill or something like that.
Oh, my word.
For me, it doesn't really matter. What matters is my people that I'm supporting. So they give me inspiration every single second. And I enjoy it. Right now, I have a smile on my face because I'm thinking of them.
Nice.
And that is what inspires me. And that is what inspires me to do more. And that will inspire me to continue to do more. Just that, thinking of them. Because if you have to now get angry because somebody misinterpreted you or looked at you differently, you would never do anything.
Wow.
Your anger will be so much that it doesn't encourage you to do anything. It just discourages you. So for me, what encourages me is seeing people smile. And no matter what, if you come up to me and you tell me you want this from me and that, you know what, fine, whatever. But I have 100 people that need to smile. So that's my inspiration, people.
Wow, that's awesome. Cool. Now, I'm sorry this interview is about you, Your Excellency, but I can't but talk about our mother, Dr. Maryam Babangida. I hope,
Yes, no, she's my mother too. So let's talk about her.
Excellent. All right. Now, for a woman of her generation, apparently Dr. Maryam Babangida was way ahead of her time. Now, the Better Life program under her had 3 focal themes. That's the establishment and growing of cottage industries, child health and safety, and as well as women education and literacy. That is huge. And I have followed the trajectory of the Better Life program under you right now. And I saw recently a video during my research for this program about a woman in some far-flung, northern community up in the hinterlands who could not read a word of English. But I think after about 10 weeks of trainings and, education, she read a speech that left me in tears. That was huge for me. That was huge for me. And the former First Lady, Her Excellency Professor Uche Azikiwe, recently stated that earlier in Nigeria, women were mostly seen but not heard. And this remained largely so until the emergence of Her Excellency Dr. Maryam Babangida as Nigeria's First Lady, whose gear-shifting approach towards national development gave voice and national relevance, arguably for the first time, towards women empowerment and development. Now, as an advocate for women empowerment yourself, would you say that Nigeria has come of age and fully embraced the ideals of gender equality?
Well, traditionally we know that Nigeria is a patriarchal society. But having said that, I think we have evolved. We have evolved, maybe not as much as we want, but Rome wasn't built in a day. Right?
Yeah.
I think we've done quite well. We have women now that are doing so many innovative things. Even our mothers, even after my mom, that have done great things as well.
Yeah.
There's so many examples out there. So I think we should take credit, give ourselves a round of applause for doing well.
Yay.
But I think what I think we need to do as well is to rally together more, to speak with one voice and educate ourselves and get informed together collectively. If we have any issue, it's that we need to rally ourselves together, and struggle for us and support each other and nurture each other and love each other above all as women. But I think we have evolved. We have done quite well. On the political scene, I'm a bit cautious about that because I noticed that there isn't a lot of full participation of women in the political scene. I beg to wonder why that is the case, because we have highly qualified women that can get into the political scene. Maybe it's all the restrictions that come with it. I understand that. So we now need to know that we need to create more awareness We need to educate and inform our people on, the support that they have to give women. But as I said, we have to rally around each other. Now, the Better Life had achieved an incredible success. And the reason why they were able to achieve success like that was because it was not based on one center. In other words, it wasn't only Lagos doing that. You had the whole 19 states then. It was 19 states. You had the whole 19 states doing just one agenda, and that is the Better Life. So every first lady in that state was only doing Better Life and getting their directions and their programs from the headquarters, which was my mom. So that is why so back to what I'm saying, there was unity there. And so that is why you will see impact.
Right.
That's why there's tremendous impact, because they were all working in synergy. So it's like an organogram of a company. You have the head, then you have the relevant departments, and then you have all your clients or your customers.
Right.
So it was like that. So there was unity. But unfortunately, I think over time now, we haven't understood that structure actually is best for us. But when we now decide to do things differently, you can't see great impact there, as against if you do it collectively. So that is our only issue as women. We need to come to terms to realize that and work together and achieve together. After all, we are 100 million plus people.
Right.
So the space is huge.
Exactly. Excellent. All right, Your Excellency. What would you say, or what's your opinion on the role of men in fostering gender equality in Nigeria, particularly, and of course in Africa as a whole?
Well, they have a role to play, Okay, well, let's just take it from the political angle and then we'll work our way down. For example, now, they have to make sure that they do support women in every angle that they can, not just talk about them as, oh, by the way, we need to take care of the women. No, it has to be a joint, collective organization, so to speak, where you're not regarding me as just, by the way, we're doing it together with the youth. We're doing it together with the men. Okay, it's all encompassing. We're just one. So if we now look at the fact that they say that we are 49% or maybe 50% of the population, my reasoning is that my economy is not doing too well. So you've left out a very key sector of the economy, and that is the women who tend to do the shopping and bring back money all the time into the system. Right? So I'm thinking, okay, if you're not taking care of them, obviously your economy can't be perfect.
Right.
Because it's now hacked. So what happens if you pay attention to them, integrate them, bring them into the system? Maybe your economy might end up being very buoyant there because, they're quite a workforce, the women and the youth. So in that economic angle, I think it's time we integrate the women into a conversation. Any conversation. When they say national development, they didn't say women development. It should come in as one. Right? And so everybody, I have this, maybe I'm going to say it on your platform, but I have this notion that if we, rather than setting up a women ministry or youth ministry, maybe we can just learn to actually just, in every ministry, there is a certain percentage of both youth, women, and men. So equal distribution across board.
Right.
Rather than, just isolating the group and giving them their own agenda, and you're not pumping in money into that agenda, you're only pumping it to one section, and that's where the other side is, or the men are.
Wow.
So integration is very key to our development and our success as well. And the men have to, we're human beings. I mean, Adam didn't live alone, did he?
No, he didn't.
So these are things that I think we should look into and be compassionate to understand that we are a very credible workforce and we can pump in a lot into the economy as well. And then take care of our hearts. After all, we're mothers, we're wives, we're grandmothers, we're sisters. So we want to join in. We want to play our part as well in complementing the men as well. So yes, the men have a huge role to play. in supporting our agenda. But before they support our agenda, we women have to make sure our agenda is authentic.
Right.
So we need to make sure that what we want to present to the men is accurate and is backed up with all kinds of information. And then we present it to them and say, okay, this is it, and this is how we want to do it. They would go through it and say, these guys are serious. Okay, fine. They've gone, they've registered, they've done this, they've done that. So let's give them a chance. So we need to make sure our agenda is authentic. We backed up with all kinds of facts and then present it to them on a serious note and let them be the ones to advocate for our success.
Wow. Well, this is excellent. Let's just, breathe on all that's been said and go on a very quick musical break. And of course, the song I'm about to play is one that reminds me a lot about your mom of blessed memory, Dr. Maryam Babangida. Nice. And it's Onyeka Onwenu's peace song that, speaks a lot about our aspirational goals and dreams for the Nigerian nation. So we will go on a quick break and we will be back shortly. You're still listening to The Third Sector on Africa Business Radio. I will be back immediately after the musical break. Please stay with us. Yes, you are welcome back. It's still the third sector. And of course, you are still tuned in to Africa Business Radio, the number one radio station in Africa that brings you insight in the landscape of African business. And of course, as our mantra is, we are always towards a profitable Africa. And this is the third sector, and I'm your host, Kemak Onyenucheya. Of course, you know by now, the third sector is the premier show on radio in Africa that brings you insight into the operations in the non-profit sector, as well as interviews and gives an expose into the lives of people whom I refer to as the angel humans that run these non-profit organizations. I have with me in the studio today Her Excellency Aisha Babangida. She is the president of the Better Life program for the African rural women, as well as the Women Empowerment Initiative. And recently, she launched another brilliant initiative called the Mothers of the Nation Initiative, which is set out to celebrate the efforts and activities of all former First Ladies in Africa. You are welcome back to the program, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
All right. Right. So before we went on the break, we were talking about, the programs and the policies of the Better Life program under Her Excellency Dr. Mrs. Maryam Babangida, the late great First Lady of Nigeria. And I dare say the most popular and most impactful First Lady ever to come out of Africa. Maybe in future generations, we will be blessed with future First Ladies and, of course, young girls who would do, greater work than Dr. Babangida did, by God's grace. All right, now, you recently launched the Mothers of the Nation Initiative. Can you tell us what led to that, the passion and, the ideology behind that movement? I call it a movement.
Well, it is a movement, but how it all started was that I needed to find, I've had a good relationship with almost all of them, growing up as a child and till now as well. So I needed to, I take their wisdom all the time. I call them, I find out what's going on. I learn from them. I go and I sit on the floor and I try to learn from them. But I realized that I'm the only one getting in all this wisdom.
Wow.
And I didn't think it was just right for me to just get this wisdom and come and tell people about it. So I decided to set up a platform where, in remembrance of my mother, and in her memory, because these women are her constituencies as well. They all belong together. So it's to acknowledge the role of the First Lady, first of all, in the country, from 1960 to 2015. So the women came, you had Mr. Ron Singh, Mrs. Azikiwe, Mrs. Gawan, Mrs. Murtala Mohammed. These are women that constituted the first era. We put them up on a platform and they talk about their experiences and give wisdom and advice. So one of the reasons is that I needed the population to hear from them directly on the impact they have done in this country and the sacrifices that they have done.
Right.
Because it's so easy for us to believe the role of the First Lady is so glamorous. She wears beautiful clothes. There's so many sacrifices she has to do. There's so many things that she has to give as well. So I thought it was best for people to hear from them and then to have the young lady learn history, first of all, because that is what is missing in our new Gen X.
Right.
To be aware of these people, aware of these beautiful women who has impacted one way or the other in the development of the country. So the young lady will be inspired and she'll get mentorship as well from this. But at the same time, also lessons. It is lessons, and to bring them, they were very, very, very happy to actually talk to. It's like when we were younger, we used to watch this TV series called
Tales by Moonlight.
Yes, so they are sitting, and we all are sitting on the floor and learning them, listening to them. So it was really basically to bring them to showcase their works, what they do now, and what is important for the future is to have them champion causes in their own environment, in their state. So there are 11 of them. Can you imagine the impact in social development in each state shared by these women?
Wow.
So that is the reason why I set this up, and thank God I have their blessing, and they are a very, very lovely bunch of mothers. I'm so proud of them, and I'm so honored and privileged to be learning from them.
Wow. That's awesome. And of course, for people, I guess I would say that I'm a major beneficiary of that, of this excellent initiative, because I've always felt that women are not only pivotal, but, in more ways than one, the actual drivers of the development of this nation.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
All right, ma'am. So now, going forward, what is the vision, or, the short term, the mid-term, and the long-term goal for Mothers of the Nation?
Well, we're hoping to come up with a blueprint on the life of the First Lady, First Lady, any First Lady. So there's a blueprint and there's a guide. And then document the activities and the contributions of each First Lady at every turn in Nigerian history. And then also they usually work without any rule books. And that is why I said we'll set up some sort of tentative rule book that would be a guide to incoming First Lady. And then also, in her memory, my mother, her work will continue, just like their works will also continue. And this is also an opportunity to have a yearly event where we're showcasing, acknowledging, appreciating these women, but not only these women, but people that have impacted in community development, community, for example, a rural woman now that has come from, like the lady that you saw that now presented her speech in English, who, by the way, has a very good job in the federal capital.
Oh, my word.
And exactly. So showcasing them and then bringing cultures together, where we can all take ownership of our country. Bring unity back, bring history back, bring ownership, just basically patriotism and love for your country by bringing the South food and the East food, the North food together. That would, we needed to put them up on a platform so that they will be a source of hope for the nation, because we're going through a lot as a nation, too much, I think. We need some hope somewhere that will guide us and give us that motherly nature of, love and support. So the platform is created to be a yearly event.
Okay.
And it's an NGO itself. And all the former First Ladies are involved in it as well.
Wow. Yeah. That's excellent. Okay, now moving on to your Women Empowerment Initiative. And of course, we're going to look a bit more at the Better Life program, because that seems to be the epicenter of all, your engagements in the social space. Can you tell us a bit about the Women Empowerment Initiative and what it's set up to accomplish?
Okay, so the Women Empowerment Initiative you're referring to, I think, is Women Enterprise Alliance, called Wena.
Oh, yes, Women Enterprise Alliance. I beg your pardon.
Yes. No, it's fine.
Right.
So this is an NGO that I founded 2 years ago.
Okay.
And the mission of it is to actually produce world-class and diverse entrepreneurs who can meet the ever-changing marketplace, not just in Nigeria, but across the globe as well. Now, we understand that one of the reasons why people actually go into entrepreneurship is because there are no jobs, right?
Right.
And that is the reason why they go. But we need to understand that entrepreneurship is an education on its own. So setting up this initiative was actually to produce educated entrepreneurs.
Wow. People
that would learn how to be a proper entrepreneur and would be able to compete globally. And they're world-class as well. So anything the entrepreneur is doing in France, the female entrepreneur in Nigeria can compete with him or her.
Wow.
So that is the purpose of that. And then to digitally educate them, because as we can see, and now because of this coronavirus, we can now see that, we can now see clearly every business needs to be digitalized. Right? So putting them on a platform where we educate them, inform them. There's an academy as well on the platform online. Give them education give them exposure, give them exposure to mentors as well, that would guide them to make sure that they come out being strong and their business being strong as well. At the same time, we have access to funds directly. So we fund them as well after going like 4 months of hard training first to be able to attach you to any funding so that you can succeed. And then we hold your hand, not just train you, fund you, and then let you go. No, we hold your hand and make sure that. So we've just launched a pilot with 25 very, very active entrepreneurs.
Wow.
The challenge is that, now they have to sit like in a classroom and learn from basic.
Right.
So they have to learn that to make sure that their company is registered and all that. So all the necessary education, once a month, we meet all together and discuss and expose them to mentors. And then they have their online platform academy, which now they have to go through and pass the test, write a business plan. We go through the business plan, and then eventually you scale up. We add you to funding, and hopefully you now come out to be a very well-informed and educated entrepreneur.
Wow. So it's a holistic approach to empowering the women entrepreneurs from the cradle to transplantation in the wild so that they succeed and set up sustainable businesses.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Well, of course, we're virtually out of time. We have about 4 more minutes. But let me bring you back to the Better Life program that you recently relaunched in honor of your mother and, of course, to carry on her legacy. And for the benefit of our Generation Z listeners who are not really privy to the great impacts of the project, under Hajia Dr. Maryam Babangida, can you elucidate on the program policies and interventions as initiated by your mother, as well as, innovative strategies that you and your team have recently infused to ramp up the Better Life program for the African rural woman?
Okay. So it's basically, we have not run away from our values, which we have stuck by because they are there. So adult literacy, it's creating various advocacy programs, increased social awareness, knowledge of issues confronting Nigerian women, also empowering them socially, economically, and politically as well. So training, adult literacy programs as well. So this is basically what she has always done, and this is what we have continued to do now. But now we're doing it in a systematic area where we're now, okay, fine. If we've trained them, we've given them all the necessary skills and brought them awareness, what next? We can't expose them or leave them alone to go and fend for themselves. So we attach them to a microfinance that I set up, hoping that they would all go into the system and collect their loans that way and not exposing them to either commercial loans or going back to square one.
Wow.
So, and then also the innovation is agriculture. Heavy on agriculture is what we're doing now. So we're going in and finding out what crops are marketable, scalable, and exportable. And then put up a system there for them where there is the farming going on through a cooperative, and then a center to store their goods, and then we look for off-takers to come and buy their produce. So it's now become like also there's an agric angle to it, there's a financial angle to it as well, and then heavy on partnership. So we haven't gone away from the success of hers, but now we have to try and we're taking it one step at a time. And one state at a time as well. Wow. Because we can't just take it all up on
at
ourselves.
The same time, exactly.
Because, so that way we perfect it. It lives a lifetime.
Wow. Whew, it's been a very engaging and a truly fulfilling 1 hour for me, and of course, I'm sure for our teaming listeners. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for being on the program today. But of course, this conversation is not over. It will still continue, and we will be bringing the sequel to this brilliant interaction with you. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for being a part of the program today.
Thank you, and it's I didn't realize it was an hour because I was really getting into it.
Oh my word!
I'm very proud of you.
I'm
very proud of what you're trying to achieve.
Thank you so
and
much.
Keep it up. You will find challenges along the way, but the only hurdle for you to jump over. Okay?
Wow! Thank you so much.
We'll do a lot together.
Yes, certainly. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. It's been excellent having you join me and Her Excellency Aisha Babangida on today's edition of the Third Sector. Of course, these conversations still continue across our social media platforms. On Instagram, on Africa Business Radio, it's one word, no space. And on Twitter, you can hook up with us on Africa Biz Radio. And of course, you can interact with me on my personal Instagram at kemak.o. That's kemak.o. Don't forget to download the Africa Business Radio app on the Google Play Store and on Apple Store to be a part of our plethora of brilliant and intelligently engaging programs and podcasts. You can also hook us up on the website. That's www.africabusinessradio.com. Thank you once again for being a part of the program today. I remain Kemak Onyenuchea, and I'll see you again on yet another edition of The Third Sector. Until then, as always, keep being good and keep making impact in your direct community. Goodbye and God bless you.
Africa, the mother